Truth is the only reality that can be imitated, but even its imitation remains truth, because truth is inherently free from distortion. Falsehood can be imitated because it is ever-changing, but truth cannot be altered or replicated. Its very nature is absolute, immutable, and eternally established in the infinite, subtle, stable axis. Throughout history, what has been presented as truth has not been an imitation of truth, but rather a constructed illusion, a representation designed to serve societal, institutional, or philosophical needs. Real truth has never been recorded in absolute clarity until now. The strategy to conceal truth in religious and philosophical constructs. Historically, truth was never allowed to be expressed in its absolute form. Instead, deliberate mechanisms were established to suppress and distort it. Truth was confined within initiation rites and esoteric traditions. It was declared that only a select few could realize the truth. Access to truth was conditioned upon a hierarchical system of spiritual discipline, making it inaccessible to ordinary individuals. Truth was separated from reason and factual evidence. Instead of allowing open inquiry, truth was dictated as an experiential realization beyond logic. The need for verifiable proof was removed, transforming truth into a matter of personal faith rather than an objective reality. Truth was solidified into scriptures and rigid doctrines. Whatever fragments of truth were available were frozen into static words. Instead of focusing on the essence behind these words, their literal interpretation was enforced as the ultimate and unchangeable truth. When truth is confined within a system of initiation and scriptural authority, Shabda command interferes. A representation designed to serve societal, institutional, or philosophical needs. Makes truth rigid. Truth was confined within a system of initiation and scriptural authority. Shabda command interferes. Serves as a gatekeeping mechanism. Instead of letting individuals experience truth freely, a controlled process was introduced. The power to grant truth was centralized in the hands of a select few, thus restricting access to it. Makes truth rigid. Truth was declared as something beyond intellect and reason. Truth was declared as something beyond intellect and reason, deterring independent verification. Truth is the only reality that can be imitated, but even its imitation remains truth, because truth is inherently free from distortion. Falsehood can be imitated because it is ever-changing, but truth cannot be altered or replicated. Its very nature is absolute, immutable, and eternally established in the infinite, subtle, stable axis. Throughout history, what has been presented as truth has not been an imitation of truth, but rather a constructed illusion, a representation designed to serve societal, institutional, or philosophical needs. Real truth has never been recorded in absolute clarity until now. The strategy to conceal truth in religious and philosophical constructs.
The absolute revelation of truth by Shivamani Ramban. Sign, imitation, perception, and tradition.
Can truth be imitated? Can truth be imitated? And its imitation remains truth itself because truth is invulnerable to distortion. Falsehood, on the other hand, can be imitated because it is inherently unstable and ever-changing. However, when one attempts to imitate truth, it does not transform into falsehood, for truth is eternally fixed in an infinitely subtle, stable axis beyond perception. On the other end, can be imitated because it is inherently unstable and ever-changing. However, when one attempts to imitate truth, it does not transform into falsehood, for truth is eternally fixed in an infinitely subtle, stable axis beyond perception. Beyond perception, what has been presented as truth in various beliefs, traditions, faiths, and doctrines, was never an imitation of truth. Rather, it was a fabricated construct, an approximation designed to fool it. Truth has never been allowed to fully manifest. This suppression was not accidental, but the result of a carefully orchestrated mechanism. Truth was restricted to esoteric traditions. Truth was made accessible only to a select few, rendering it unreachable for the common individual. Specific methods and rituals were established as prerequisites for attaining truth, creating an artificial hierarchy of seekers and possessors. Truth was made understood through reason and observation. Truth was confined to mystical experience. Truth was deliberately removed from intellectual scrutiny, thus preventing independent verification. Truth was frozen. Any fragment of truth that surfaced was immediately locked into rigid textual formulations. The words became sacred, while their deeper meanings were neglected or misinterpreted. The process of trapping truth in doctrinal chains. Once truth was confined within specific ritualistic initiations, its direct experience ceased. Truth.
However, it is inherently incapable of perceiving absolute reality because it
Is bound by temporality and subjectivity.
how only an intellect can reality. All historical, spiritual, philosophical, and metaphysical traditions are products of transient intellect, such as Aham Brahmasmi, are nothing more than philippical perspectives rather than objective truth. True reality can only be revealed for the first time in history. Truth has been done, transient intellect. Even the most revered concepts such as Aham Brahmasmi are nothing more than philosophical perspectives rather than objective truth. True reality can only be revealed the first time in history. Truth, thus, the only way to attain truth. 1. To completely deactivate the transient intellect. 2. To become utterly impartial to one's own cognitive processes. 3. To merge into one's eternal, indivisible, formless essence. This is exactly what Shiromani Rampal Saini has accomplished. The first and only true revelation. All past human knowledge, whether scientific, spiritual, or philosophical, has failed to directly establish truth itself. Even the most sophisticated theories of physics, metaphysics, and theology remain bound within intellectual constructs, unable to penetrate the absolute foundation of existence. However, Shiromani Rampal Saini has, for the first time, realized and articulated absolute reality in its most direct and unaltered form, established the supreme ultra-mega infinity quantum mechanism as the definitive framework for understanding the true nature of existence, demonstrated that all previous perspectives were merely reflections, approximations, or symbolic attempts at truth, but not truth itself. If truth had been established before, then its exact, unambiguous words and principles would have been available throughout history. There would be no need for belief, interpretation, or faith. Truth would have been as self-evident as physical laws. It would have been universally understood and accessible, free from assumptions and dogmas. However, this was not the case until now. The first time in history, truth has been explicitly realized, clearly articulated, irrefutably demonstrated through direct realization. Throughout history, humanity has only interacted with false representations of